Can you please come down here? I'm really scared. Last year, my friends and I decided to do a 3-day hike on the Ouachita Trail. Ben, Sean, and I had done multi-day hikes together on different parts of the roughly 210-mile trail before, and were hoping to knock off another section before the summer was over. The section we decided to hike this time had a public camping area at the base of the trailhead that led to the Ouachita Trail proper, which we had decided to take advantage of. We had parked Ben's car at the ranger station near our endpoint and carpooled in mine to the camp. When we arrived, the sun had started to set, but the place was bustling. Kids were riding on bikes around the footpath, and families were sitting around grills, enjoying the scenery. Places like these weren't really my cup of tea, as I preferred more secluded, quiet areas to set up camp. But something about the communal atmosphere gave rise to a sense of nostalgia for the times my family took me camping at places like these. By the time we set up our tents, night had fallen and the crackling of dozens of campfires filled the air. We ate a quick supper of roasted hot dogs and a few beers before heading to bed. The next morning, I awoke to distant shouts echoing through the campsite. I sat onto my elbows and listened, trying to make out what was being said. Before I could determine what was being yelled, I was startled by a quick slapping at the front of my tent. Worming my way out of my sleeping bag, I unzipped my tent flap and poked my head outside. Shivering at the cold morning air, I saw Ben and Sean in front of their tents, pulling on their hiking boots. "Get your clothes on, man," Ben said as he saw me. What's going on?" I asked, still waking up. "Kid's missing. Probably wandered off last night," answered Sean, cinching his bootlaces tight and standing up. I turned back into the tent and started getting dressed. My heart sank as I heard the shouts becoming more abundant, as other campers joined in, calling out the child's name. "Sarah! Sarah! Sarah!" I hoped that she was just in the shower room or had woken up early to go to the playground nearby, and yet, I couldn't help but think of the countless stories I'd heard of kids being abducted or disappearing into the woods, only for their bodies to be found miles away, or sometimes not at all. Ben and Sean were already a few campsites down from ours and calling out to the wood line when I came out of my tent. I hurriedly tied my boots and joined them. "Do you even know what she looks like?" I asked. A brown-haired, blue-eyed, 8-year-old girl named Sarah, came a voice from behind us. I turned to see a college-aged guy walking towards us, with another guy and a girl who were around the same age and also wearing packs. "Any idea where she went?" Sean asked. "No. Her dad said she was asleep in her tent when he went to bed around 11 last night and was gone when they woke up about 30 minutes ago. Said her shoes and flashlight were missing. I'm guessing they already checked the bathrooms then, yeah?" I asked, looking towards the brick structure at the center of the campground. "Yeah, we checked there," said the girl, and no luck. "Listen, we're going to head to the trailhead to look while the rangers get the main search organized. I asked them and they gave us the go-ahead. Do you guys want to help out?" the first guy asked. "For sure," Ben said, looking to me and Sean as we nodded in agreement. "We'll grab our packs and meet you there in 5. We made it back to our site and threw some essentials in our packs. I realized that I had left my water bottle in my car, but Sean, being the prepper that he is, gave me a spare. Once packed, we strapped on our packs and headed toward the trailhead, leaving our camp set up since it was clear our trip had been delayed. The shouts had tapered off as people began to gather on a park ranger at the center of the camp area. Walking towards the trailhead, we heard sobs coming from a campsite just off the path. A park ranger was sitting beside a woman who could only be Sarah's mother, who was crying into a pink pillow in the shape of a unicorn, while a deputy stood attempting to speak to the girl's frantic father. We glanced at each other as we moved past the heartbreaking scene. The expressions on each of our faces were of sorrow-tinted determination. James, Kristen, and Paul were the names of our new companions. They were each outdoorsy types like we were and just as well equipped. We met at the trailhead just outside the camp area and gathered around the large wooden map and formulated a plan. Main Street was the 8-mile circular trail, which returned to the trailhead and connected to the Ouachita Trail at the top. Baker's Falls was a cutback trail, which led to a waterfall 4 miles from the trailhead, and Vista Trail led up the mountain 5 miles to the north. We decided that it would be best to split into groups of 2 in order to hit each trail while staying as safe as possible. Paul and Kristen volunteered to take Vista Trail. Sean and James decided to take Baker's Falls, leaving Ben and I to take Main Street. It was agreed that we would meet at the trailhead in 7 hours, giving us time to be thorough with our searches and be back before nightfall. We knew cell service would be spotty, if not altogether non-existent, but we exchanged numbers anyway, in the off chance that we needed to contact each other, and ensured we had the ranger station's number. When we set off, Paul and Kristen headed north at the split and began their arduous trek up the side of the mountain, while the rest of us hiked east towards Baker's Falls. We didn't talk much, aside from occasionally calling out Sarah. We were afraid that by making too much noise, we might miss hearing her and didn't want to distract each other and miss any sign of her. Just before noon, we arrived at the split for Baker's Falls. Sean and James headed down the mountain while Ben and I continued on Main Street. It was a nice day, given the circumstances. If it were any other time, I would have been greatly enjoying myself, taking in the cool air and absorbing the majestic scenery. But for obvious reasons, I didn't pay any of that much mind. After a while, James and Sean's echoing calls faded away as we made our way toward the intersection with the main trail. We took our time, listening intently between each call-out. The trail began to turn north up the mountain at a sharper angle, slowing us down quite a bit. It was fairly taxing, and I found myself calling out less as I began to run out of breath. It had also been a while since I had last hiked with a pack, and I noticed Ben starting to struggle as well, so I suggested we take a break. After all, we'd be going non-stop for several miles at this point. We found a shaded spot near an outcropping of rocks next to the trail, took off our packs, and pulled out some snacks. We sat silently, eating and listening between deafening bites of granola. At first, it sounded like a bird, in the distance behind us. A ways off of the trail, I heard a shrill cry. I stopped chewing and tapped Ben. Listen, you hear that? After a moment, it echoed again. A muffled cry that was almost certainly that of a child. We both jumped to our feet and called out, "Sarah!" The cry responded. "Shit, she's up there," Ben cried as we both made our way around the outcropping, leaving our packs where they sat. "Sarah, keep making noise. We're coming," I yelled. The cries became clearer as we trudged our way up the mountain off the trail, slipping on loose rocks and sticks. We were getting close. Ahead of us, we saw what appeared to be an opening on a small plateau through the trees. The vegetation began to thin out, and the ground became saturated with flat, rough gray stones, which were much different than those that we had seen so far. As we made our way through the opening, it became evident that the crying was that of a little girl. The trees gave way to a large glade of gray stones. No trees or plants in sight. "Sarah, where are you?" Ben cried, straining to catch his breath. "Down here," a small voice squeaked from somewhere in the glade. In the middle of the opening was a small rise in the stones. Once we were about 15 feet away, I saw that it was a raised lip of a large hole, about 7 feet across and blacker than night, a short way down. "Jesus. Sarah, are you in there?" I called down into the abyss. "Yes," she replied through her sobs. Her voice echoed up towards us. She was a long, long way down. "Are you hurt?" I can't stand up," she cried. "Damn it. Ben, did you put any rope in your pack before we left?" "No. Did you?" "No." "Sarah, are you bleeding?" "I don't think so," she said weakly. "It's too dangerous to try to climb down there. These rocks could come loose and cave the whole thing in," Ben said, testing the edge of the pit. I pulled my phone from my pocket and unlocked the screen, but found there was no service. Ben did the same and shook his head. Ben, get back to the trail and get Hope. I'll stay here with her. All right, I'll be back, he said before running back into the trees. Just hang tight, Sarah. We're gonna get you some help. Silence fell over the glade as Ben's footfalls faded into the distance. Sarah? I asked. Her sobbing had stopped, and several seconds passed before she made another sound. Please, come and get me. Her voice was weak and pleading. It's really dark in here. I turned my phone light on and held it to the opening. It illuminated a few feet down, but no further. I still couldn't see her. I promise, we're gonna get you out. It's not safe to come to you right now. I don't have the tools, and I don't want you to get hurt any more than you already are. I knew she must have been scared, and I felt horrible that she had to stay in the hole a second longer. I thought about dropping my phone to her for the light, or maybe to play a game, but with how far down she was, it might break and be of no use to either of us. I thought about my pack and hated myself for leaving it at the trail. I had a headlamp in the front pocket and some paracord I could have lowered it down to her with. Sarah, I have a flashlight and some snacks in my backpack on the trail. I'm going to go and— Don't leave me! She screamed. It was a loud, tormented, almost angry scream. Okay. I won't go anywhere. Silence returned to the glade. Looking at the opening and the rocks surrounding it, I noticed something odd. The rim of the pit was a nearly perfect circle. It definitely wasn't a natural formation. The rocks appeared almost as though they had been deliberately stacked. Sarah, how did you get in there? I asked, inquisitively. I fell, she said. Did you fall from up here, or is there another way in somewhere? There was no response for a moment. I slipped and fell from up there. There was no sign of collapse on any side of the pit. I thought maybe it was a stable structure after all. I can't climb out. My legs hurt really bad, she groaned. Can you please come down here with me? I'm really scared. I really considered it. Even if the structure was stable enough to hold my weight without collapsing, the hole was too wide for me to brace against the sides, and it would take a skilled rock climber to safely climb down, as small as the cracks and the ridges the walls were. I really wish I could, but it wouldn't be safe for either of us. There was no response. Are you thirsty? I asked, remembering the water bottle I'd clipped to my belt. Yes. I unclipped the bottle and held it at the side of the opening. Sarah, can you see me? Uh-huh. Good. I need you to move as far as you can against the wall. I'm gonna drop this bottle down to you, okay? Okay. I listened for movement, but heard nothing. Sarah, can you move against the wall? I did. I paused for a moment. Sarah, are you sure? This is kinda heavy and I moved! She screamed. Jesus, all right. I mumbled as I dropped the bottle into the inky blackness. I waited for a thump and a cry, or to clatter against the floor, but no noise came. Did you get it? She didn't respond. Sarah, did you get the water bottle? Still no response. Shit. I knocked her out. I mumbled, Sarah! I got it, she said, breaking the silence. I breathed a sigh of relief. Don't scare me like that, I laughed, as I pulled out my phone. Still no service, though. It had been nearly an hour and a half since Ben left. I did a quick calculation and estimated that it would be at least another hour before he returned with help. I sat next to the edge for a while, letting a sense of relief and accomplishment wash over me. We had done a really good thing here, and I was more than happy to sacrifice a hiking trip to help find this girl. Though I sat for a while longer, waiting for the sound of the cavalry rushing up the hillside, but was met with a blood-curdling scream from inside the pit. Shit, Sarah, what is it? Peter, there's something in here with me. Another scream. What is it, Sarah? What is it? Sarah, what is it? I don't know. Please come down here. Please? Please? Sarah, I'm gonna drop my phone to you. Use the light and see what it is, okay? She continued screaming. As quickly as I could, I pulled off my boot and removed my sock, turned the light on my phone and slid it inside, layering the sock on it for more cushion. I'm dropping the phone. Try and grab it. I yelled over her screams as I let the phone fall. I watched as the dim glow of the light through the sock disappeared into the darkness. A few moments later, the screaming stopped. Sarah, did you get the light? What was it? Again, nothing. Sarah, answer me, please. I got it, she said calmly. Is the light on? I don't see anything. There was a long pause. It broke. Oh, okay. That's fine, but you're all right now. Wait, yes. Please just come down here, Peter, she said in a whimper. I'm really sorry, but I told you, it's not safe. I froze. Sarah, how do you know my name? There was no answer for a while. Answer me, Sarah. How do you know my name? It's on your bottle, silly, she giggled. That's not my bottle. It's shut. A friend let me borrow it. There was no way she could have known my name. At the very least, my full first name. I didn't think Ben had called me by my name in the short time he was there. And even if he did, he always calls me Pete, not Peter. Down here, she said in a raspy whisper. No. Come down here. I stood and started to back away from the pit. Down here, help me, down here. The voice screamed and changed pitches. I stumbled back and fell onto the rocks as I heard what sounded like bones scraping against a stone from within the pit. Down here, help me, down here. The voice no longer resembled that of a child's, no longer that of a human. I stood and ran. I ran as fast as I could down the side of the mountain as unearthly screams bellowed from behind me. I fell again, this time rolling forward, striking my hip against a stump, sending a wave of dull pain through my body. I stood and ran as best I could, back to the way I'd came. I wasn't sure where I'd came out on the trail, but I knew which way the trailhead was. I ran until I couldn't hear the screams and kept running, until I met a ranger coming up the mountain toward me at a jog. No, don't go up there, I shouted breathlessly. Calm down. You're safe. Are you hurt? He asked. Oh, I'll be alright, but you can't go up there. That's not... Sarah, I don't... It's alright. Sarah's safe. Your partner's found her halfway up Vista Trail. He took me by the shoulders and started guiding me down the mountain. Where's Ben? Did he make it down? Yeah. Ben and the rest of your crew are down at the campsite waiting for you. Y'all did a good job. Really appreciate your help. We walked for a while before I was able to calm myself. What's that glade up there? That pit? What the fuck is in it? He sighed and gave me a quick glance. Nothing that you gotta worry about, he said with an uneasy smile. We made it back to the camping area and I met up with Ben and Sean, who both, understandably, had a few questions. However, I didn't have time to answer them since the rangers were shutting down the camping area and the trails and we had to leave. We packed up our things and loaded my car just as they were closing the gates. On the way back to Ben's car, I told them what happened at the glade. Ben said the ranger freaked out when he told me what we had found and told him to stay at the campsite until he came back with me. Apparently, when Kristen and Paul found Sarah, she told them that her mom was calling her from the woods when she went to the bathroom that night, so she followed her voice up the trail but got lost. Sean thinks to this day that we're pulling some wild prank on him, but Ben and I know what we heard and what we saw. I haven't gone hiking since, and I don't think I will for a while. Thank you for staying until the end of the show. I appreciate you giving me some of your time, and I look forward to seeing you again. If you can tell me what you thought of today's episode, that would help me so I know what things to give you more of. This story comes from Reddit user TimCrow25, who does have a part 2 to the story that I will be checking out if you all are interested. I really enjoyed how the story builds a slow and crawling tension where, even though in the back of your mind, you kind of know what's going on, you couldn't help but stay and keep seeing how it played out. I think that Pete took a little too long to recognize the name thing. I clocked that instantly, or perhaps that's part of the charm of the story, that it plants the seeds for you to see and the character to discover. Either way, I loved it. The character doesn't announce itself, which is great. What makes it particularly effective is that Peter never fully understands what he encountered, and neither does the ranger. Or if he does, he's not really saying. And I think that's scarier than any actual explanation, because it implies that the thing in the hole is known, expected, and deliberately left alone. For what reason it's left alone, I have no idea. Maybe we'll find that out in part 2 of the story. I am glad I was allowed to read the story, and I hope you were glad to have listened. Since you probably want to hear more of my voice, you should tune in for tomorrow's new episode, or if you got time, you should go back and catch the last one. I'll be doing my best to post daily on YouTube, Spotify, and all other platforms for the remainder of the year to challenge myself, so let me know if you like the stuff, and I'll keep making more of it. The link to my podcast and this story will be in the description down below. If you want to listen to more of my voice, you can listen to all the Chilling Stories episodes in the series here. Furthermore, if you have a story you'd like to recommend to me, you can reach out to me via Reddit, Discord, or email. Those methods of communication will be placed in the description for your convenience. Again, if you enjoyed today's episode, tune in for the next story or just go back and catch the last one. But, until then, I hope you watch the shadows that lurk just beyond your sight. Thank you for listening, and to all, a good night.